Welcome, Dessery Dye, EPS veteran of the band program, of the art program, recent graduate of Rhode Island School of Design, flute player, baritone sax player, majored in interior architecture, honorable mention award recipient for adaptability. Desiree Dye, welcome. How are you doing?
You, Peter. I'm good. Thank you. Long time no
Excellent.
see.
It's been a long time. It's been you look
Yeah.
very you look great.
Thank
I
you.
I wore my best Hawaiian shirt for the
Yeah,
interview
yeah.
today, as you can see. Okay, let's get right to it. So
Okay.
please give an overview of your educational journey and the career you plan to build.
Okay, no problem. So I graduated from EPS and I went to RISD, which is Rhode Island School of Design, to study adaptive use at the Department of Interior Architecture. And I want to be able to work in creative studios and eventually have kind of like an architectural design firm myself. Yeah, it's a long journey.
Oh, okay. Now, what does an interior architect do? Like, what kind of things would you do?
hmm Usually people only hear either it's an interior firm or an architecture firm, and for my school, interior architecture is kind of like a combination of both of them. And in my department, our interior architecture um, studies, we focus more on adaptive use, which is transforming any kind of historical buildings um, into a new building for modern functions. It's different from renovation, but yeah, we kind of redesign the interior structure or the outside structure for a more suitable contemporary use. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you've kind of partially answered this next question, but I'll go ahead with it anyway. What are the different specializations in architecture?
Oh, there are many different specializations in architecture. I think the most traditional one is just it's called architecture, which is the new construction of any building and where new structures are built. And there are many aspects that people can look into it. There are residential building, there are healthcare, there's commercial buildings like malls and stuff, and there are civil buildings which are like libraries, recreation centers, museum, and monuments. And each different architecture firm kind of have their own focus. So in the future, you can look into that. And besides architecture, there's also interior architecture, like what I just explained before, and also landscape architecture. In landscape architecture, people usually focus more on the exterior design, which involves more about plants and nature. Yeah, rather than the interior or like the actual structure.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you want to work in interior architecture, what kind of projects would you specialize in, or what's like where do you hope to be? Would you hope to be in the hospitals or the residential or business? What area?
I'm personally I'm interested in all of them. I'm not as interested in residential, but within the field of residential, there's a whole bunch of different architectural specialties too. There are single housing, or there's high rises, or there's like apartments that people could do. But like personally, I like to do public building, which are like healthcare, recreational centers, and libraries. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's for me it's more fun because there's more people involved.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. What are some of the courses that you had to take at RISD as an architecture major, and what was your favorite and least favorite?
Oh. um, so the first year of RISD will be a general foundational studies that everyone, no matter what major they're doing, we all take it. And there's three different foundational class, which are the drawing class, design class, and there's a spatial class. And each studio we have different professors, and like every week we'll come up with a different assignment and do it. But it's basically more related to the fine arts because it's more general. And then after our first semester, we declare our major, we still go through the foundational study in the second semester, but from the sophomore year we go into our major studies. And for interior architecture, each semester we have a core studio class, and it's the same with the architecture field too. Like the studio is the major class that you have. Like for our school, we have two class each week, and each class is like um, for the full day, like from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It depends on the school. For us, it's pretty long. But yeah, what you do inside this core studio is you will be focusing on one or two projects just in that semester, and whatever prompt it may be, like yeah, like you'll be given different projects to design different buildings in different conditions. So for me, in my first couple of semesters, I've been doing libraries and retail and commercial designs. And afterwards, we have something called like the elective studios. Like it's still required, but I get to choose what kind of architecture I want to design. And beside the studio, we are required to take a literal art course, which for my major, I have to take history of architecture, history of interior, and there's also other classes that are required, such as digital computation, drawing class, but it's not drawing for generally, it's called drawing for architecture. You will learn how to draw plans, sections, and all those diagrams that are required in the field. Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
Now, did you always know that architecture was the direction that you were going to head in when you went to RISD, or did you change your mind when you
And
got
no,
there? No, you
I
didn't.
definitely changed my mind.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Okay.
still wobbling, but I like architecture.
You like architecture.
Yeah, when I
So
first went to,
when you first went in, what was it that you thought that you would
mhm.
pursue?
Well, like before that, I just really love music and art in EPS, and then I went to RISD. I don't really have a specific direction. I have done like a summer school before while I was still in EPS at RISD doing architecture, and also did like a fine arts program summer school at Emily Carr University in Vancouver. And I love both of them, so I couldn't decide. And so went to the foundation year. I still couldn't decide until very last minute. So I was struggling between illustration and architecture. Yeah, but I chose architecture by the end because I think I wanted something a little bit more challenging. Not saying that illustration is easy; it's really hard. But I think I'm more interested in the 3D aspect
Mhm.
and want to push it over there. Yeah, but on my own, I still draw. Like I still like to do some illustration. I made a lot of friends in different departments too. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think just going from that answer, I think that it's very important to be open to changing your plans because you really do want to follow your passion area, right? And you may even change your
Yeah.
mind still. That's possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, no, you
Once
always
you,
want to change your
yeah.
mind.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you want to make sure that your decision is the right one, and it's important to find something that is your, you know, that you love to do. That's my own personal
Mhm.
opinion because I that's the situation that I'm in right now. I love my band job,
Mhm.
love teaching, and I think it's important for
We love
people.
you, Leader.
Love you too. Okay, next question. Please tell us more about your ideas for adaptive reuse in architecture.
Uh-huh. Okay. I think adaptive use is one of the expanding fields across the world. Like when I mentioned about before, like I adaptive use about changing old buildings into new buildings, or for a new function. Like when I mentioned about historical buildings, it didn't just mean those like traditional ancient palaces that holds cultural values. Like usually those kind of places are protected for preservation and you're not allowed to change it, but there are many many buildings that are already designed like in the 1950s, like 60s, like all of them when they're designed they already hold their own like value or cultural value. of the location. Like, and everybody around the world has different cultures. So in China, like they are doing a lot of renovation, in Japan too, and in India, in Europe especially, because there's the city is just full of traditional housings. And but then as like, I don't know, called society progress, I guess, and as technology progress, there are a lot of new safety codes for people, so that to make the building more livable or suitable for that function. Um, and what we do is that we study the original structure, and we sort of see, okay, if this structure is still safe, or if it's still good to be used as something else. So, for example, I know like in some of my studios we're giving like old factories in Providence, where they were factories that produced textiles, but now they're all abandoned and just ghost towns. And we were brought there by our studio teachers, and we studied the building, and we tried to transform it back into like libraries, recreational centers, so that people can inhabit it again. Um, yeah, and I think there's also um, a lot of people ask me what's the difference between renovation and adaptive reuse, because renovation, it's more common and architecture firms still do it, and mostly interior design groups do it. But I think the difference between interior architecture and especially adaptive reuse is different for renovation, is that renovation is trying to restore the condition back to its original, so we're making a place new, but it still stays the same as before. Whereas adaptive use, we do a lot of structural change, like we take out something or we add something to the building, so then it's quite different from before. Yeah.
Right. And would you say that that's your priority as a professional, as what you hope to do this kind of work?
Yeah, I really like working
Yeah.
with old buildings. Yeah.
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 No, it's
Mhm.
it's refreshing to hear people talk about um, you know, helping these old buildings survive, because it's very, I think the best part of cities is that they're older buildings. You can
Mhm.
trace the way the city has developed over time, and just by bulldozing all the old buildings and putting up new buildings,
Yeah.
it's a real shame, actually, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, there's preserving cultural values, but also like adaptive use helps save some construction costs and less material usage for environmental damage, I
Hmm,
guess. Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Okay. Next question. So you were involved in an internship.
Yeah.
Yes. And could you tell us about your experience as an intern? What happened? What tell us about it.
Yeah, so I had a design internship with a firm called Alcus Manfredi Architects in Boston. It's a pretty commercial firm, but it's one of the biggest local architecture firm, I think. Um, I get to know them, connected with them through RISD's career fair, and I recommend everybody to seek out for that if you go into university. Most university have those, what's it called, like career fair or portfolio review. Like they will invite companies, all companies from different fields, and you can get to talk to them. And that's how I get to know them. And I talked with one of the hiring managers, or like the interior designers. Yeah, and then I was pretty lucky that she admitted me, because still I still feel surprised, because like I think one of the biggest challenge then was that as someone who never had work experience before, is to how do you let the recruiter wants you, because you have no work experience. And like people like me, when I first got my interview with them, all I could say was my experience in school, but actually, like, whatever you do in school is already really good. So keep a hold of that. And I told them what studios I took, and what kind of architecture design I'm interested in. I also presented my portfolio, which is really important for both art and design fields. You're required to have your resume, cover letter, and a portfolio, and these three are really important. And luckily, they accepted me in the summer of 2019, and I went there as not as an architect though, but as an interior designer, and I work in their firm on more like corporate offices, and it was pretty fun. I get to learn a lot of stuff like material selection and also how to work between like um, cross field because their interior firm works closely with the architecture team, so we have to constantly communicate to make sure that everything goes to the right place. Yeah.
Right. Now,
Mhm.
how long were you involved in the internship?
It was a summer internship, so it was from June to August, but it was early June to the end of August, so it's
Okay.
almost 3 months. Yeah.
Now,
Mhm.
here's the next question. What are some of the challenges that you faced during this, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that
Just getting chosen would sounds like it was a bit of a hardship.
yeah, I think writing my resume,
Yeah.
actually, you will find a lot of example online saying that how you should write your resume, but those are not true. You better ask
Yeah.
someone in your field because each field has a different requirement for your resume. And like when I was like a sophomore, I know nothing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, and
I
then
don't think any sophomores know anything.
yeah, and then like the most important thing is to get a really good resume because no matter how good your portfolio is, the first thing they look is still your CV.
Right.
And if it isn't written in a relevant way to them, then they wouldn't look at the rest of your application. So
Right.
I was lucky because I had many professors and seniors who had an internship before to review my um, resume, and I recommend everybody to do that. So just get someone to in your field who knows about it, or someone
Like a
who has
mentor.
yeah, who has similar job position to review your application. And
Right.
that was one of the hardest, and the rest of the harder was like I was so nervous on the first day.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. I bet.
Yeah, yeah, because I knew nobody, and it's a different culture, a different environment too, and I was so scared that I would screw up things, and
Yeah.
they will like kick me out on the first day. But that won't happen. Usually the first day is really chill, and
Yeah.
then you always because they know you're an intern, and they will always have someone to supervise you, and it's really nice. So yeah.
Right. So you have a mentor then, or many mentors, or would you do you obviously recommend getting a mentor?
Yeah, I would say I have like really nice professors in
Yeah.
universities because usually uni is really big and there's a lot of people, so it's really hard to have a close relationship with your
Mhm.
professor. But my department is pretty small, and I get to know them better, and they will like to help me more closely and step by step. I would say like in my department, I have a lot of good mentors that I really
Yeah.
appreciate. And also, when I went to the internship, I didn't work with one person, but I worked with multiple groups. So because there were different projects, and as an intern, usually what you'll do is usually you're not doing the important stuff, but you get to see what other people doing, and you're doing the easy stuff so to save their time. And yeah, which is um, it's not like you didn't learn anything. Like you learn through getting to talk to your coworkers. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
And making contacts.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Hmm.
Okay. So we already mentioned that you got this honorable mention for adaptability um, in a competition called the home competition. Can you tell us about that and tell us about your project that got you this acclaim?
Yeah. I think yeah, it's called a home competition, and every year there's a home competition. So this one's home competition 2020, and their prompt never changes. It's always about re-envisioning the home. But sometimes the requirement of what you hand in kind of changes, like how big the size of the poster or stuff. But I teamed up with one of my classmates and my close friend in uni, and her name is Chloe. And then we signed up for the competition um, in July. We were like, okay, we have to at least try to do some competition in college, or else, like, or time passed by. I feel like at least we should just try. So we signed up in July. We had no idea what we were doing all the way until October, and the deadline was October 25th. So we started the project
Oh my
in
gosh.
October 10th or something when there's only 15
Uh,
days left. I would say that's most of the time, like how competition goes for everybody. Like
yeah.
you always do it last minute. Yeah, because the hardest part about doing competition is thinking about the ideas. And Chloe and I like were inspired by this COVID situation,
Mhm.
and yeah, we didn't know what to do before because like how do you do it in private housing? There's a lot of people who just have their own houses. How it's just how can we create something new, I guess. And like one day we were just like looking at the news and we saw, I don't remember, but it's pretty depressing. It's like um a family member who died, but their family never get to see them because of COVID, because people have to keep their distance.
Yeah.
So and that make us think about how can we close off the distance in between. So our competition project is called Home During Sickness. So we were um, we want to redesign the whole ICU situation. So usually when people go to a hospital, they like you're not allowed, other than the patient, their family members not allowed to step inside ICU for a long time.
Mhm.
And of course, like different hospital varies with this policy, but usually you cannot stay in for a long time and you have to go back home, which could be far away, whatever location in that city. So we're thinking we should create like a residential location where we kind of crossed over both the ICU and private homes. So then each unit, so the ICU unit is attached with a home unit, kind of like a hotel over here, and they
Mhm.
have their own circulation. So the patient family can go inside the home unit, and the patients in one of their ICU unit, and there's a window across, so they don't have to go inside the hospital in order to visually see their patient. So that was our concept, and we kind of rushed everything, but we made it. I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, what a great idea, and so relevant to the current
Mhm.
situation. They're talking now about um, having to rethink the way people live so that when the next pandemic comes along, that we're in a better situation. And right now, you see so many cases in our community because of the multi generational families, and
Mhm.
there's got to be a way of keeping these families together, but in a more safe way, so that we're not,
Yeah.
you know, exchanging all these things that get exchanged
Yeah,
and
yeah.
cause sickness. So, well, that's an excellent thing. Hopefully, you can continue on this sort of direction.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, we're just about at the end of our questions.
Mhm.
What is one tip that you can give to your student to our students who wish to find success, whatever they may be heading for in their professional lives?
Mhm. I think nothing goes smoothly. There will always be difficulties and hardships, but I think what's important is always be positive, be really proactive, and just try many times, like, and don't give up. I think
Yeah.
that sounds cliche, but it's actually
Well, it's a
what
cliche for a reason, I think. Like,
is the truth, I think.
yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
you gotta fail multiple times before you can actually get what you want, especially
Right,
in design and art.
and
Yeah.
it's okay, and it's okay to fail.
Yeah, it's fine. Like,
That's
don't
fine.
see failure as a bad thing. Like, always fail and just figure out what have gone wrong this time and move
Yeah,
on for the next one. Yeah.
yeah. And if you don't end up in your area that you like, feel free to keep looking and try and keep looking until you find that
Yeah.
passion, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
think I will say to my the EPS self, like, don't
yeah,
worry, like because back then I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I still don't know now, but it's
yeah.
okay. Like, life is a journey.
Right.
You'll
Well,
figure
yeah,
out
yeah,
something.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, it's been excellent talking to you, Desiree.
Thank you, leader. I really miss you. I really appreciate this.
I miss you too. And you have helped out a lot of students. Now this is going to be archived and put on the PLC um, channel on YouTube, and students for years to come will be able to click on Desiree's link and listen to our conversation and get your wisdom. So
Okay, thank. I
thanks.
hope I help. Thank you.
I think you did for sure. Okay, thank you very much.